Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me once again is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind, who has found himself in the beautiful mountains up high with a panda. We do some meditation. Zen, I know your life has kind of changed a little bit, so maybe some Zen, some needed rest for you.
That's what I was going to say. I'm in my place of Zen, taking a good breather, a little meditation. Yeah, as you alluded to, my wife had a baby this week, so there's a new child, my second child, who was born a week ago today. So that's why our show. I'm dedicated. I get a little break. I still want to talk movies while I can, while I'm home in between naps and caring for a living child. So but we're here, and I was actually able to get out because I do have a 4-year-old and take her to the movies this weekend. So I got some things I can talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And in this podcast, we dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to the latest blockbusters. And we're on episode 33. We're going to strut onto the red carpet, talk about the Oscars. We're going to run through, Kung Fu Panda and Ricky Stanicky, two totally different films for two different demographics for sure. But before we get to all of that, we want to make sure you can follow us and connect with us online. You can find me on almost every single social media platform at Sean Taj, at Nerdtropolis. I told you earlier, I've been going crazy on X lately. I don't know why. I think I got the grasp of X now and finding I think my algorithm has picked up where it's stuff I really like. It took a while because I'm not active on Twitter/X, but now all the stuff on there is movie related finally. And that's really what I like to talk about. So please follow us there. Also, don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you? We're not contributing to Nerdtropolis.
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all those social media platforms. I'm over on X, not tweeting all the time about movies, but definitely lingering and reading all those same feeds that you are. It's like all my feed is movie related. Also over at Letterboxd from logging what I'm watching, which right now is kind of a trip because I'll be logging like Die Hard 2 in the middle of the night because that's definitely something that happened recently. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, that's what we got to do on a future episode is kind of dive into Die Hard as the classic blockbusters right there. But don't forget to catch up on previous episodes of the Moviegoers Society. We're already 33 episodes in. It's been a wild journey and loving it. And also tune into my podcast, Real Insights with the Mayor of Nerdtropolis. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, of course, the Nerdtropolis YouTube channel. I got a lot of gems on there. I just did an interview with Rory Culkin. I did an interview with Patton Oswalt. I have an interview with Ernie Hudson I'm dropping soon, and a lot more coming. So just check them out. Please like those videos, leave a review on the podcast channels, anything, and all the support y'all can do anywhere will be really grateful as we continue to grow. But Drew, Sunday night, I think you're more excited for Oscars than I am. Just in general, you really love the awards. I do too, but like you are really excited for this year because for obvious reasons, a lot of great films, a lot of tough competition. Did you enjoy the Oscars this year more than usual?
I did. I thought the show this year was really good. I followed the Oscar race very closely. I have been doing so for probably the better part of like 10 to 15 years now. I get really into it, even more so probably the last 5 or 6 years. And I just enjoy the ride of it, the campaigning, following the events and all the precursor awards and everything leading up to the big show. I think this year Oppenheimer's win was, of course, inevitable. Everybody saw it coming. It had won everything leading up to it. We knew that was going to happen. So this one will, forever be known as the Oppenheimer Oscars, which is good. It's a great movie and it deserved to win. I'm happy with the win. But even in a year where the show may have been a little predictable in some categories, there were still some surprises, but overall I thought just a really solid show from beginning to end. It started early. It started an hour earlier than usual, around 6 o'clock, so it was done before 9:30 here our time, and that was also nice. So
that was really nice, actually. That's I think helped with their 19 million people viewing it. I think the most watched within the last 5 years, I believe. So that was a smart move on their behalf.
Yeah, and I've listened to some analysis of the Oscars this year and some thoughts on the awards and some winners. Of course, the 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 Vegas odds between Lily Gladstone winning Best Actress and Emma Stone winning Best Actress were actually the same. It was a truly neck and neck race. I thought Lily Gladstone had the edge, but Emma Stone did win, and there is some analysis I've listened to that basically are saying in the attempts to make the Academy more inclusive, there's a lot more international voters in it now, and some of those a lot of the wins for Poor Things and the way that some of the Oscars fell, it really seems like we're seeing that influence of the international voters. Poor Things is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and I think that's a big part of it. So it is really interesting when you kind of get into the nitty gritty of it all. But overall, I thought it was a great show with very deserving winners.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of we can predict. I say my mom predicted a couple of the winners with some of the photos she took at the Critics' Choice with Cillian Murphy and Divine Joy Randolph. So uh, maybe she needs to go back and make her prediction for next year. Love seeing Cord Jefferson winning, who I got to meet and take a picture with him too. So like it was awesome. Some people we wanted to talk to at the Critics' Choice and congratulate them on just the body of work they did and the stuff they did for this past year was amazing. And so it's great to see it go all the way to the Oscars. That was exciting. Some surprises. I gotta say, the Boy and the Heron winning over Spider-Man. I don't know what to say about that because I have to rewatch that movie, The Boy and the Heron, because I couldn't get into it that much. But what do you think? I know you enjoyed both of them.
I
So I want to
really
hear.
liked The Boy and the Heron. And actually, when I did my own predictions before the show, I chose The Boy and the Heron. So I felt good about it when it won, just from a being right standpoint. But again, I'm talking about the international voters, and The Boy and the Heron is a Hayao Miyazaki movie. And I think that it's truly part of the shift that they've been trying to push on the Oscars and the Academy. And it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds more moving forward.
Yeah, and no real upsets per se. Everyone that's been nominated is supposed to be there for a reason. So it could have gone in any direction. Loved seeing Godzilla minus one, best visual effects. That was probably, not surprising. The one I was like more ecstatic about, like Godzilla winning an Oscar. Like that's just
Godzilla's
amazing.
first ever Oscar. It's a big deal.
And Christopher Nolan's, right?
Christopher Nolan's, yes, that is correct.
So him and Godzilla are the same, taking over the
Christopher
world.
Nolan's speech was really good. You mentioned Cord Jefferson earlier. His speech was also very good. Like the speeches were pretty on point, I feel like.
Yeah, they're actually really great, inspirational, motivating, really speaking to everybody, just kind of pursue their passion and give everyone a shot, which I really love. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next year's Oscars, and it's gonna be a year of Dune too. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm with you. Like talking about Across the Spider-Verse, obviously it didn't win, and it's kind of interesting because you see sometimes with movie franchises, the best example that people use is Lord of the Rings, right? And Return of the King, the third in the trilogy, is the one that got recognized for Best Picture, and it's kind of like a culmination of, hey, there's this amazing series that came out, like let's give the crowning achievement to the last movie. It seems like it's usually the last movie that gets recognized. Well, with Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse got Best Animated Feature when it came out. So that one's different because it's the first movie that got recognized and not the future entries. So we will see though. There's going to be another Spider-Verse movie. There's still hope for its future entries to win additional Oscar gold.
Yeah, but it seems like that one's gonna be pushed back. I think another year. I think everything's getting pushed back. To be honest, we just got the announcement that the Batman 2 is getting pushed back to 2026, October of 2026. Just breaking just as we're doing this, and also Nev Campbell's returning for Scream 7 with the writer of the original Scream movie directing.
They had to do something there. That production sounds like it's been in deep trouble.
Yeah, it has been, and they got the money now with two of their stars got to pay Nev Campbell, so that's happening. When I was talking to us, actually, Kieran Culkin, who was in Scream 4, it's kind of cool to get an insight on Wes Craven. So check out that interview. But yeah, Scream is such a popular franchise. Some people are gonna support it, some people aren't because it went through a really weird rough patch last few months with stars getting fired, stars leaving, director leaving, a bunch of stuff.
Losing Jenna Ortega is a big blow. She's, a huge up and comer, big for the younger viewers to come and see it. Obviously Wednesday's a huge hit, and she's not going to be in it. So that's going to be tough as far as the new stars to appear in Scream movies.
But if you want to see Jenna Ortega, she's got Wednesday season 2 happening at one point or at some point, and Beetlejuice coming out in August. So I'm excited for Beetlejuice for sure. Like that's gonna be exciting because everyone's back.
Me too. Really excited for it.
I think all the stuff from the 80s is coming back too. Like you got Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and like I said, I have an Ernie Hudson strictly Ghostbusters chat for 20 minutes coming to the Nerdtropolis channel. So I just love everything from the 80s is getting revisited again.
And then speaking of revisiting the Oscars, I'm assuming your favorite bit from the Oscars show was the same as my favorite bit. And do you know what I'm referring to?
Are you talking about like the floating envelope that like was I don't know like the floating envelope? Like I don't know what was going on with that. A lot of highlights of the show, real quick before we get into that. Ryan Gosling's performance was awesome. For me, that's why I love Barbie. So yeah, a lot of good stuff there. But yeah, a floating envelope, Drew. What was that all about?
My man John Cena. Okay, let me just say, kind of a surreal moment in a way for me because I am a longtime wrestling fan, and I don't know if that's come up on the show before. It probably has. But I'm a longtime wrestling fan. Have been watching Cena in the ring for years and years, and he's been particularly interesting to watch these past few years transition out of the WWE and into a legitimate movie star and getting more roles. And I've always been, as much as I liked Cena in wrestling, I've been a little bit, I don't know, just maybe I had some hesitations as far as if he would really be able to make the jump to movie stardom, but he's been pretty successful. Like we've gotten, he played Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad and then had his own series, which I really liked. And he's been in the Fast and Furious franchise now. And I mean, he's been in a lot of different things. And to see him appear on stage at the Oscars in the same room as like Robert Downey Jr. and Cillian Murphy and Christopher Nolan and all these huge stars that are getting honored, it's like kind of a surreal experience. And not only that, we know that John Cena from his time in wrestling, he knows how to get over with a live crowd. That's a big part of wrestling. And I feel like he got over with the crowd. He delivered the biggest laughs of the evening. He had a really great line delivery for the award that he was presenting for costumes. We're gonna kind of skirting around the fact that, of course, he was indeed head to toe naked while on stage, which was quite funny.
If you look at some of the behind the scenes photos, it shows you how they pulled it off per se. Technically was not fully naked, but pretty much showing his physique of like the perfect godlike man. So it was really funny to see him lean into that. Obviously everyone knows he's built like crazy, but he's so funny about it. All his stuff that he's done in the past always has a humor aspect to it. And who knows if he gets into some drama, kind of like Batista. It'd be nice to see if he can transition to that. The Rock back in wrestling now because he kind of didn't have the film career lately that he wanted to, so it took a quick break, but he's coming back with a dramatic film with A24.
I was going to say, yeah, he's jumping into the prestige pictures too, so we'll see how he does there.
Yeah, so, Cena is busy. You got, obviously, Peacemaker Season 2 happening. He did that Coyote versus Acme movie that's never going to get released or maybe get released. Obviously, he was in Argyle for a little bit as well. But his latest...
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in Argyle. Yeah.
Barely, right? That's the problem we had at Argyle.
Exactly.
With that there. But yeah, he is in Ricky Stanicky, which is, first of all, a very odd name for a movie title, but obviously that's the name of his character that he plays with Zac Efron. It is a Prime Video film. 3 best friends from childhood make up a fake fourth friend to take the fall for all the antics they do. That's really the gist of the movie, and it just follows them through life, adulthood, and they still use Ricky Stanicky as the bad friend that makes him go do whatever happens that's bad, or go on trips and gotta go places, and they have to find a real Ricky Stanicky, and they run into John Cena in a casino, and he's a performer. That's all I'm gonna say. A very strange performer with a very strange. I don't know. He's a singer. He's a dancer. He's changing lyrics up. It's very interesting. And so they bring him back home. They introduce the real Ricky Stanicky, and just a bunch of antics happen. And that's really the film, to be honest. Until get some heartfelt moments and kind of changing John Cena's character's life from really a bum to something great, which was really nice to see. But what do you think about this film, Drew?
I'm a little mixed. It is directed by Peter Farrelly on his own, without Bobby, and his solo career has been interesting because he did Green Book, which won Best Picture, and then now we're getting, he did The Greatest Beer Run Ever, and then Ricky Stanicky. So he's been working with Zac Efron for a bit now. When this movie started, I actually like the concept that you mentioned, like the Ricky Stanicky character that the made up character that all these friends blame their faults on, basically. But when it started off, something about it was just so kind of over the top, cheesy or forced or something. Like it really wasn't clicking with me until Cena entered the picture.
And you know what it is,
John
real quick,
Cena.
before you go further? I think it is the trio. I don't think there was chemistry between the trio of friends per se. You got Zac Efron, who's great in everything. And then you have obviously Andrew Santino, who's hilarious. And I forget who is the third.
Jermaine Fowler plays the third.
Yes. And I just feel like that's a strange trio to combine, and there's not much chemistry there. And that's where I'll say there before John Cena comes in, it's kind of like the glue that kind of makes things work.
Yes. And I think that John Cena, even with his acting, when he tends to be, he can be over the top, but he's just very charismatic and very charming. And when he dives into the role of Ricky Stanicky, when they hire him to be Ricky Stanicky to, essentially appease their wives, he's really good. And I thought he was doing some really good stuff, and he was genuinely funny. And I really liked, once it got into that and him filling the Ricky Stanicky role and like having done his research and be trying to be like a true actor for this role, I liked all of that. It really worked for me. And then the third act of the movie kind of takes a turn as far as what he's doing, as far as what the Ricky Stanicky character is doing. And that stuff is what kind of like fell off for me a little bit. So I feel like this movie truly was like a mountain, like it peaked and then it kind of went back down. I think that my big takeaway is that Cena was very charming and charismatic in otherwise, okay to not very good movie.
Yeah, it's like two films that's tied in. It seems like
really is.
But I love that William H. Macy is in this.
He's good. He's actually pretty funny.
The scene where they're showing how he does his speeches was hilarious. I thought that was clever, and how they really leaned into that. So William H. Macy is actually really good on this, and it's a nice surprise because he plays like the big bad boss. That's really tough, but a lot of funny stuff there. Jeff Ross surprised me in this after his performance as the rabbi. Yeah,
yes.
At first you don't think it's Jeff Ross because you don't see him in anything anymore. I feel like he pops up here and there, but he goes full out for this, which is great. And so Jeff Ross, William H. Macy, and John Cena are the highlights for me. It's really sad. Like Andrew Santino is really funny, but I don't feel like they gave him anything really that funny to do. And Zac Efron, I don't know. I didn't see much from him in this.
He's kind of like, I don't want to say he's phoning it in because he's trying, but like after having seen Efron in the Iron Claw recently, which he's really good in, this is just kind of like a traditional comedy. And Andrew Santino, as you mentioned, I've really liked him in other things, like he's in Dave.
And he's
the
really
TV
good at Dave. See, I
show.
like his delivery in Dave, and I wish we get a similar delivery from him here. But like, his character and Zach works in the same company, which I thought was odd. And so you have very similar characters, I think, there. And it didn't let one of them be a little more sillier than anything. They had to be two serious men. And I think that's the problem with the trio is that I feel like everyone's serious out of the friends. And then here's John Cena, who's the lighthearted one.
Yeah, and like I like him when he's in recurring roles in recent years. Like he was in Beef also, which has been a critically acclaimed show. But yeah, in this, like he had some good moments, but I think it's what you said. I think it all goes back to the lack of chemistry, and some of the line readings are kind of weird. And we see this in comedies where they'll improvise lines and see what sticks, and try to do some funny one liners. And some of the ones in this one, like I just didn't think were very funny or not very well thought out. I don't know. It's just there were some jokes that fell flat, but the Cena of it all is the glue.
Yeah. Without him, this film wouldn't be memorable at all. Like it's not a memorable film. But to be honest, there are some scenes of Cena when he's doing his performances that are just hilarious. Or he's like dressed up like Britney Spears. That's like embedded in my head forever, apparently. He just goes all out, more than I've ever seen before. And so that's the only reason to watch this. It's on Prime Video. For the first time, I've noticed the Prime Video ads at the beginning of the movie. Have you noticed that now? That extra, since we pay for Prime Video,
Oh,
but it's not. We still get ads now. They changed their format, and
yeah,
now
you
they
have to
have
pay an
ads.
additional like $2.99 a month or something to get rid of the ads. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, wait, what's going on here? There's ads now, and I forgot. Yeah, they're implementing that. That shows you how much I watch Prime Video. To be honest, it's they need to have more stuff. I know they have Fallout coming out, the series and stuff like
Well,
that.
Fallout, and then the second half of season 2 of Invincible comes out or starts, I think, later this week. We've got the Roadhouse movie that's coming straight to Prime later this month. So I'll be using Prime actually a little bit more, probably in the next month or so.
Yeah, so it's starting to pick back up, which is nice. But I wish they just have more. I feel like Netflix, even Apple TV Plus is adding more stuff than Prime usually. They've been adding some really quality stuff. My interview with Patton Oswalt for the Manhunt show, which is um, about the assassination of Lincoln, finding John Wilkes Booth. So that's a really good show. So Prime Video just needs to pick it up, but it seems like more content is coming. I don't know what I rate this movie. Maybe a 2.5 or 3 out of 5.
I'm right. It literally words out of my mouth. I would have said like a 2.5 or a 3. Probably a 2.5 for me.
I'm probably 3 because when I go under 3, that means I walk out. But like this movie, I would like sit down and watch just for John Cena. So if you want to see Cena, go for it. This is a great one for him. Maybe just see if Prime Video can do a version of this movie where it's just all of Cena's scenes just stitched together. And I think then you have a 5 out of 5. Or even I actually tweeted this, I think, that I'd like to see a prequel series of Cena in his old job and just, the mess he gets into beforehand and everything else. I mean, that'd be a fun one.
Yes, yes. I don't know. I just, yeah, more of him being an actor and like studying his roles and trying to get into character. I thought the lengths that he went through as this kind of washed up actor were very funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So that's for the mature audiences. Next, we got Kung Fu Panda 4, the 4th installment. I think this is 8 years since the 3rd film, but Jack Black was back for the series. I believe that was on Netflix for this. So he voiced Poe, I believe, in the series. I think it's called The Dragon Knight or something like that. I just remember watching the first Kung Fu Panda. I don't remember much about 2. I don't think I even watched 3. Didn't watch the series. So I'm not the Kung Fu Panda expert that I should be. But Drew, you got a little one. You took your little one there. Did y'all have a good time?
Yeah. So my daughter had recently watched the first Kung Fu Panda a few months ago, and I had seen it. I had seen it around the time that it came out, and like thought it was fine. And we went to watch the second one because my daughter wanted to watch more Kung Fu Panda, and I didn't think I had seen the second one. And then it started, and I was like, "Oh, I've definitely seen this one. Like, I remember the villain." So it was one that I had seen and forgot that I'd seen it. And then I definitely hadn't seen 3, and I watched it with her. So I caught up on all the Kung Fu Panda movies here. And let me say this about the Kung Fu Panda franchise: for an animation franchise, every entry in this series is good to fine, which is nice for Kung Fu Panda. Like it's none of them are bad. Like they're all at the very least fine and serviceable animation fare for kids. It's not too like silly or throwaway. Like there's some funny moments, and Jack Black I think is a true star amongst kids, especially. Like he was just in Super Mario as Bowser and sang the Peaches song that went viral, and then now he's here in Kung Fu Panda. With all the animation projects he's done, Jack Black could live on just the residuals from the movies he's been in for, for the rest of his life. But yeah, a fourth Kung Fu Panda movie, and it was again was good. It was fine.
Yeah, I watched it with there's kids in our theater. They enjoyed it, so definitely kids are going to love this. I'm not a Kung Fu Panda pro fan. I don't know much about it, but with this installment, I expected more. I think with the animation for once, especially after the last Puss in Boots movie, and was amazed about the direction they went with this. I thought, we'll see something more modern and newer with Kung Fu Panda 4. And I feel like it's just like the first film when it came to the animation, which was kind of disappointing. Nothing was.
That's fair. It's pretty traditional.
It's very traditional, especially there's a new film coming out from DreamWorks. It's is it The Lonely Robot or something like that?
Oh yeah, we saw the preview for that before this one, and it looks good.
And the animation kind of looks like Puss in Boots a little bit, The Last Wish, just some of the styling, and then they added their own touch to it, but it looks completely different than what we usually see from DreamWorks. And I think that's the thing that I had a problem with is the animation. Secondary, there's no what I call it, the Furious Five in this one.
Which to me, as soon at the beginning, it's pretty early in the movie where Poe says that all the Furious Five are off on their own missions right now.
Oh, we have cutouts of them. We have cutouts of them to take pictures with.
Cardboard standees within the movie. Yeah, it's to me, my mind immediately goes to, well, that's easy cost cutting because you don't have to pay, Angelina Jolie and Seth Rogen and Lucy Liu and Jackie Chan and David Cross. Like you don't have to. That's probably a lot of money saved in the budget of this movie.
And the budget was only 80 million for this movie, which is much less than I think with the previous ones, or maybe around 130 or so. So big cost cutting, not having the Furious Five in it.
And it's already almost made that money back just within its first week, internationally. So as a parent, this is the first movie I've been able to take my daughter to since we saw Migration back in December. So it's nice to have new kids movies to get your kid out of the house and go see.
Yeah. And so my secondary issue with the film, I think, is the voice cast they added. Love Aquafina, fan of hers, but I always get tired when she pops up a little too much. And I don't think her voice works for everything. And so that's one of my issues is having Aquafina in this. Even though I'm a big fan of hers, I don't want to see her in everything because that voice is so iconic. And it takes me out of these movies when you can recognize people's voices like that. And all I see is her past character she played or just her roles in other like live action films. And also the villain, the chameleon, I didn't know it's Viola Davis. So like that's one thing which is kind of funny. Either the voice wasn't as recognizable or they were trying to do something different. I did not know Viola Davis was the chameleon.
So I thought Viola Davis was really good, and I thought the chameleon was actually a pretty cool villain, and there was good animation there around her. Back to Aquafina, I'm looking right now at her filmography, and like her last like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of her last 6 to 7 roles. Oh gosh, you could add in 2 more, have all been voice performances. And I thought about this during Kung Fu Panda 4. Like, I understand that Aquafina has a very unique voice, and I actually really like Aquafina as a performer. We did an episode, however many episodes ago, of the Moviegoers Society on Quiz Lady, which was a comedy that you and I both liked, and it was very good, and Aquafina is very good in it. But like I mentioned, Migration, the last animated movie that I saw in theaters with my little one, also had Aquafina in it. The voice role in The Little Mermaid, a voice role in The Bad Guys, a voice role in Raya and the Last Dragon, and it is starting to become a lot. And she's going to be a voice role in the upcoming If movie with the John Krasinski directed Ryan Reynolds movie. So she's all over the place, which is fine. Good for her. Collect those paychecks. Like, you got a great voice for animation, but it does feel like a little bit too much almost. And that's, I say that with love to Aquafina, somebody who I genuinely do find funny most of the time. But I think it's also worth noting, and I'm not like, I don't know how much people really care about spoilers for the fourth Kung Fu Panda movie, but I'm not going to go in depth spoilers. But like, this movie also kind of tries to work as like a handoff movie, if that makes sense. Like, the franchise could continue with or without Poe. And I don't know, and that transition involves the character that Aquafina voices, and I just don't know if that really worked for me. Like, I don't know if I care about seeing more Kung Fu Panda spin-off movies that don't have Jack Black and focus on the character that Aquafina played. We'll have to see. This movie is making money, and they made it seemingly on maybe, I'd have to look and see what the box office is of the previous films. But
Well, while you do that real quick, I don't think this is the end of Kung Fu Panda. I don't think Jack Black's done with this. I think this, to be honest, the plot and the script were just poorly written and was like a typical plot that you get to when you get to 4 and 5. Oh, it's the end of the road. We don't have any money to bring back anybody. We're gonna pretend we're handing it off. And I think that's just the case here. I thought this movie, to be honest, the plot was boring. I was really getting antsy because it was very predictable. And that's, even though Viola Davis is amazing, and you said you like the chameleon, I thought it was a typical villain that you see where she I guess spoiler right here. I'm going to say it 5 times. Spoiler that she gets the powers from the previous villains that Kung Fu Panda has fought in, and then sucks him in. I mean,
it does seem like kind of a cop out. Like, what's the new villain in the fourth Kung Fu Panda movie? I don't know. Make it a villain that can turn into all the past villains. I agree. It is a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah. And then going back to the voice acting, big fan of Ki Kwan, but his voice is way too recognizable. I feel like the character he played was just not good enough. I think he needed a bigger role or a more main character. If he was actually, it's Aquafina. What is she? A fox, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, some sort of fox.
I mean, if Ki Kwan was the sly fox, I would have dug that. Actually, I think it should have been kind of flip flopped. I just thought his role was too small for his character. Like, not really major. Comes later on, really has no big role, and it's just a waste. But I did like the addition of Fish. I am a big fan
the Fish character as well.
Roddy Chang. Yeah, big fan of his. And so when I heard his voice as the Fish, which he has a recognizable voice, but he doesn't do much of the voice acting stuff. I was like, this voice needs to be in Kung Fu Panda. I just love his way of speaking, and it fits perfectly.
The fish that's within it's pelican, right?
Yeah.
Within the pelican's mouth. And it reminded me, actually, you brought up The Boy and the Heron during our Oscar conversation, but like, from a character speaking within a bird's mouth, like, that's kind of a strange connection to make, but it did remind me of that.
Yeah. And that was a really fun character. That was probably my favorite character that showed up. But yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4 has not really made a dent into the franchise, didn't bring anything new or exciting. It's just another installment. Just more Kung Fu Panda content, really. Didn't elevate it at all. Just giving you more stuff if you love the franchise. If you don't like it, then it's not going to win you over. I will tell you that.
So here's my dive on the franchise as we discussed. The first Kung Fu Panda movie had a budget of 130 million. Now, I'm not going hardcore into research on this. This is just through Wikipedia, right? But $130 million budget for the first movie, it made 631 million. Pretty good. Second movie was more expensive, 150 million, and made 665 million. So made a little bit more than the first. The third one, it went down to 145 million. And it ended up making about 521 million. Still a good profit. So all the past iterations in the franchise cost well over $100 million. We saw 130, 150, 145. This new one cost 85 million. So that's cutting, almost $65 million from the second entry. Which is a pretty big cut. And I can't help but wonder how much of that is the salaries of the big name actors that they decided to exclude from this movie, exclude their characters. And it's probably not a bad move to cut some costs, and this movie will still probably make a profit. It's already made that 85 million almost back, and there's not really anything coming out in theaters that's going to make a huge splash this upcoming weekend. I think that Kung Fu Panda 4 and Dune 2 will continue to hold. I don't know that I know there's a new Mark Wahlberg movie coming out that I can't ever remember what it's called. I just know that it's Mark
Arthur the
Wahlberg and a
King.
dog. That's
Arthur the
it. Thank
King.
you.
But it is also
Arthur the
spring
King.
break. So it is spring break. So a lot of kids and families will be heading to the theaters. Dune will be getting more money. Kids will be watching Kung Fu Panda this week. It's easier for the parents to kind of take them during the week if it's spring break instead of over the weekend. So I think we're going to see Kung Fu Panda 4 maybe match what it made opening, but throughout maybe a few more extra days and kind of get some big money. We'll see. That'll be exciting to see what spring break does. Well, spring break is also very different around the country. I'll tell you that. But for us here, it is right now. And I know there's a couple other weeks of spring break around the world and off sea. So it's going to be interesting to see how that increases the box office for Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah, I have some family members that they don't live in Texas, but their spring break's not until like early April, which is interesting to me. But yeah, I don't know. I think that you're right. Kids will be going to see this. I think you make a good point. It doesn't really do anything crazy with the animation. It doesn't really take any risks. It's a pretty safe follow up. But I think that for what it is, it's fine.
Yeah, kids are going to love it. That's the end of the day. Kids are going to love it. Parents are going to be fine with it. I just found myself just being ready for it to be done just because of the predictability and was really wanting to be wowed. But
I can't believe it, Sean. I can't believe you didn't absolutely love Kung Fu Panda 4, that it's not your highest rated movie of the year. I cannot believe it.
Well, I'll give them another shot when they come out with Kung Fu Panda 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because that's going to happen. I mean,
it probably will at this point.
And there will probably be a live action version of this, which apparently was the rumors of what they wanted to do was do like almost like a have humans in it in some extent. I don't know. That's what I read. Some random.
That's what they're doing with How to Train Your Dragon. It's getting the live action treatment. So yeah, I guess we could see it happen. I think Disney's kind of starting to divert away from their live action adaptations of their animation. So hopefully Universal's not shooting themselves in the foot by making this journey a little late in the game when audiences are starting to turn away from that. They're not feeling it as much.
Well, also, I don't think DreamWorks Animation has that many titles. I think the amount of live action films that Disney has made, I don't think DreamWorks even has that many just animated projects that they've done. It's Disney has been.
You want to see Mike Myers in live action Shrek?
No, I do not want to see that at all. I don't want a live action Shrek. That's going to be way too scary.
Or a live action version of the Shrek Broadway musical in a movie.
Is that what you want?
I say this as a joke. I cannot honestly say that that's what I want.
I think you did, because I didn't even know there was a musical. So apparently you've gone and watched it.
I have not seen it, but there is a musical. It did have a Broadway musical.
Yeah, so we'll see what they end up doing. March will be interesting. There's some fun stuff coming out, but I'm super excited when we talk about Ghostbusters. So do stay tuned for that. For all y'all that have been tuning in to us, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel or to follow the podcast channel that you're listening to us, maybe Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anything else. And also share all the content we've been posting on Nerdtropolis. We have a lot more coming your way. It's movie news, reviews, interviews, trailers. We got everything. Once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms, and of course, weekly here at Moviegoers Society.
Yes, thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.